threatening strike actions and etc. I don't think that it is fair to PRC, because then you want to engage with them under circumstances that, in my opinion, will be creating an unfriendly environment for them as you engage with them.
He also explained government decision to release the state bungalow acquired by the national chairman of the NPP, Jake Obechebi-Lamte, saying government cannot go against the Supreme Court's decision. When asked about security arrangements for the Black Stars and other Ghanaians who would be in Egypt during the match, Mahama Ayariga said government is in touch with the respective missions both here and in Egypt to ensure Ghanaian nationals are safe. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Well, despite the assurances by the Information Minister, former Majority Leader and one of the three wise men, President Mahama, appointed to be in charge of his special projects, Alban Bagbin, does not quite think government is that committed to fighting corruption. Citing government's handling of findings contained in an investigative report on the operations of the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Agency, JADA, for instance, he said he is yet to see a semblance of the political leadership and commitment to fight the canker. In that particular case, a committee set up by the government to conduct the investigations cited some officials for complicity in shady deals and plain stealing and recommended their prosecution. The report also recommended the abrogation of some contracts with service providers under JADA. But the former Majority Leader says it is taking too long for government to act on the recommendations. He spoke to Joy FM's Manasseh Azure Aweni.
In our country today is corruption. He talked about the fact that we need leadership and in this case political leadership to deal with it. Do you think we have it today to be able to deal with corruption in this country?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the leadership to deal with corruption?
No. I haven't seen it.
Why do you say that?
Well, we've all heard of a lot of allegations in the country. We've heard of the steps that have been taken, which I must say are not the right steps. There's setting up of committees to investigate and that kind of thing. That is not the right step. From my submissions, you will see that I'm relying more on the institution that we have established and giving the mandate to investigate cases and to carry out the necessary processes, either to prosecute or them or otherwise. We have seen that. That is not what is happening. And so people are somehow encouraged to do what they are doing. When we go for politics and we are trying to mobilize resources and you have people coming with huge amounts for candidates to go and campaign, and you are not asking questions, you are encouraging them to do what they are doing. Even when after elections, appointments are being made and you are seeing strange faces and strange names, and the only evidence you get is that they donated this amount this day. What are you encouraging? We know genuine businessmen don't spend money that way.
Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee is to invite persons indicted in the recent tax evasion scandal involving officials of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority at the port. It follows reports that over 280 companies managed to evade taxes of more than $367 million due the state with the complicity of some officials of the GRA. Deputy Ranking Member on the committee says they intend to probe the allegations by questioning the officials and institutions named as early as next week.
The companies named in the scandal are said to have connived with the GRA officials at the bonded warehouses to clear their goods without paying the required duties. Some of the institutions have, however, denied the claims and have demanded proof from the Presidential Task Force, which is making the claim. The committee's deputy ranking member, Kwabna Ocheidaku Mensah, blamed the scandal on the uncertainty of the tax regime at the ports.
Because people import things into Ghana. Today they come, their duty have changed. The next day they come, their duty have changed. The third day they come, their duty have changed. What do you expect them to do? They will start looking for new certainty. And I believe that certainty has been provided to them through the SEPs and the other officials who work at the place. That's why they continue to use that certainty. Otherwise, if there's a simple thing to do, pay your tax and get out, Ghanaians would have been using that simpler one. So if there's something more simpler than what is currently pertaining at the port, then natural people use a simpler one. And I think that's where government is losing so much revenue. Because there seems to be no certainty in even duties people pay at the port each and every time that they come back.
He says the committee will also interrogate claims by the Presidential Task Force that it had money to recover more than 70 million Ghana cedis, which was otherwise lost to the state.
What is the basis for a lot of the calculations they are doing? Is it too theoretical that it's not practical to the Ghanaian situation? That need to change? These are questions that we'll be asking them for them to give us details. How come that the Ghana Community Network website cannot put out there all the figures that people need to pay? Why? We should be able to do it. We should be able to have an estimator for every duty you do, every import you do. There should be an estimator for you to be able to use, so you can plan well. Because when your thing gets to the port and you don't have money, you pay demurrage, you pay rent, and you pay other expenses. These are very expensive.
The Roads and Highways Minister was also in Parliament to respond to questions about the safety on the Kintampo Highway, after which the VAT bill was taken through the consideration stage. Meanwhile, a one-day pre-budget workshop will be organized for members on Monday, November 4, to aid their participation in the consideration of the 2014 budget. The Minister of Finance is expected to be in the workshop to provide pertinent information to guide members. The Ministers for Health and Food and Agriculture are expected to appear before the House next week to respond to questions from members. Sitting has been adjourned to Tuesday, November 5.
Truck drivers hauling cocoa meant for export on behalf of the produce buying company are agitating over the failure of the company to take delivery of their cargo. The drivers say they've been camped at the PVC's parking lot at the Tim Industrial area for more than 2 weeks without access to proper sanitation facilities and are also losing business as a result.
In front of the PBC's parking lot at the Tema Industrial area, the truck drivers with their assistants rushed towards the crew to vent their frustrations once we got there. They say there are about 1,000 of them with more than 350 trucks, compelling other drivers to park outside. Ideally, they explain, the cocoa beans would have been offloaded in 3 days, and so the delay is of great inconvenience to them, especially because of the insanitary conditions under which they are forced to camp.
Obi anzu ni wa ba be kan bibia kire wa ha baby e ko toilet eni ho baby a ye be dware ni ho nsuo kura ye be nom no eni ho baby a cars na ankasa anso ye be park na no nsu ni ho enti amaka ne bi park abonten a akromfo ha ye edura na adwenso a un police ni bia o wa ha ba ye nti asem bia se na se ye from na se ye kase ye dede kakra ya bi so omo a eno de omutimi ya police fo a Omubaba begina omachina omapam ye adwuma na ayeye no ebinum ran bonus trip bia wo be ko bia no e wo bonus a ye de ye de ma enti se 2 weeks na ma begina ha no se ya de a ye offload cocoa no amama ko ebi a be ye 2 na 3 a aka mi wo ska bia me nida so a minim se makwa 3 trips enti me kwa na makwa akwa de akwaje
most obi ba ne ka wura ma no 1.5 memeje 1 million sisi am no gina no obi na de me didi wa ha obi pe onya wo nya place na odi gu no unya every blessed dem pay for so to private cars akase dem nti sika private cars akase ni sika na omde to edam no omudi sidan ne hodo ye kokoo no wo a enya na ase ye be hodo kokoo no track so.
One of the truck drivers, Kwejo Atta, does not quite understand why they seem to have been ignored.
Me ka se da ba kon ho a ye be wia ne kokoo miensa amma police for ba ehun ehaya papa because omaja padie pa ne wo ho no efisa say kokoo bebrebe say ya ka bia fa 650 bucks so that 650 bucks no ye kita ka be say 350 cars entini say saska we yes kapudua o man $20 I can't be pesa japadie we.
According to them, the undue delays have become an annual ritual.
When we look at where the hinterland, in the bush, where we go and bring, where we get the cocoa from the bushes, where we sleep, where we find ourselves, we have been taking the pains for ourselves, okay, trying to help the economy. But the executives or the leaders have to also take care of us, our place of sleeping, our welfare. They have to be taken care of. You see, it looks as if every year they don't care about this thing happening a year. It's a yearly thing that happens.
Cocoa Cocoa is the bedrock of the country's economy. And just like cocoa farmers, drivers who transport the cocoa from various regions across the country to the capital for exports are important players in the industry. All they are seeking is to be treated better. They want the government and the produce buying company to act swiftly to address their challenges. Adelaide Arthur for Joy News.
Now, fuel prices, as was announced yesterday, have gone up. The bi-weekly review saw the prices of the various products going up marginally at the pump, except for premix, which remains unchanged. Consumers of kerosene were the hardest hit in the price review.
The Public Relations Officer of the National Petroleum Authority gave a breakdown of the prices at the pumps and the reasoning behind it.
November, which is today, is increment in the price of petrol, diesel, increment in the price of LPG and kerosene. The price of premix did not go up, and the percentage for petrol, diesel and LPG were all below 2%. It's only kerosene that is in excess of 6%. And these two products, kerosene and premix, which did not increase this time round, usually would normally increase for one policy purpose, to ensure that we eliminate the subsidy on them by the end of the year. So that's the reason why kerosene keeps going up, premix keeps going up, in exception of this trip that, it stayed the same.
A check at some of the filling stations revealed most of them had effected the changes at the pumps. The attendants Joy News spoke to said there were virtually no complaints from their customers who came to buy fuel.
You see, nowadays they don't increase it so high. So mostly people don't know. Like today like this, even people don't know that there's an increment.
Watching the Prime Time News Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. Still to come, we're told of some rock slide on the Ebri Mountains and causing accidents there. We'll be going over to bring you some live update on what exactly is taking place. Do stay tuned. President John Mahama has held discussions with the senior management of the Scania Group, a Swedish automobile company, for the supply of public transport buses to the Intercity STC and the Metro Mass Transit companies. The discussions began when the president paid a visit to the firm as part of his activities while in Sweden to attend the mid-term review meeting of the Gavi Alliance.
The visit was arranged by the Swedish government through their Ministries of Enterprises and Foreign Affairs to afford the president an opportunity to assess the various range of Scania public transport buses available and to discuss the country's requirement. The president told company officials about Ghana's intention to start implementation of a rapid bus transport system.
We are looking both for an intra-city solution and then an inter-city solution. Yes. Because we have a company too that does intercity links the major cities. STC, intercity transport. Yeah. Just a little input and they should be fine. Yes. It's just that the management over the years has not been the best, but we want to overhaul that. Yeah.
President John Mahama said buses for public transport will be deployed for intra-city commuting to utilize the bus lanes. This, he said, will make it possible for commuters to park and board buses from the outskirts of the major cities into the central business district.
Is it possible to train our Ghanaian mechanics and, other technicians to be able to maintain the buses?
Of course, it will be done by local people, so it's part of normally our setup as well, to take care of the whole structure and also to bring up the knowledge level in the country. And hopefully then also, of course, selling more products and services, etc., going forward.
Right now, the solution we're looking for immediately is to introduce city buses for the arterial roads. We have roads that come into the city center and out of the city center. And so to be able to bring people from the suburbs into the city center and be able to take them out in an optimal manner, instead of these little mini buses we have that congest the city and clog the roads. If we had either double-decker buses or slightly longer buses that could take more people per bus, then we could introduce them. So the main service on the arterial roads will be by these double-decker or longer buses. And then the small mini buses can do the distribution of the passengers, on the lateral connections.
State transport, Intercity STC, has been plagued with many challenges, including threats of a shutdown. The president recently reconstituted the board of the company, promising to ensure that the management of the bus company is strengthened and given clear targets to achieve. President Mahama earlier held discussions with officials of the Swedish government on a number of issues, including urban transport management.
Thank you very much. Enjoy this time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It appears the ban on the importation of second-hand refrigerators and air conditioners has done very little to discourage the trade, as some dealers are still in the business of importing these items. According to the Energy Commission, some 230 container loads of the banned appliances have so far been confiscated at the Takoradi and Tema harbors, awaiting destruction. The Commission, at a media briefing today, reminded the public, especially dealers, that the ban is now in force and sanctions will be imposed on those who flout it and the items destroyed.
The ban on the importation of the used appliances came into effect in December 2012 and is part of a plan to eventually eliminate them from the country due to their inefficient energy consumption levels. The Commission says, despite the 6 months grace period given after the December 2012 deadline, dealers attempted to bring in more than 8,000 units in the 230 containers. The media were invited to witness the destruction of some of the appliances.
Will settle on one side so that the oil will also go to a position so that it will be able to degas at the same time. So once the machine is taking the gases out, at the same time it will be decontaminating the oil, which it will boil at a temperature. All the gases are stored in the, automatically everything comes together.
Public Relations Officer Victor Owusu says the exercise is in line with the Legislative Instrument 1932-2008, which prohibits the importation and sale of used refrigerators because of their high energy consumption and the danger they pose to the environment.
The sanction is that, in the first place, these items are impounded and seized. That is one aspect of it. And then you can go forward and do prosecution. In terms of the prosecution, if you are found liable and you are convicted, you could be fined 250 penalty units or 12 months imprisonment or both. I can assure you that the Energy Commission is committed to the enforcement of the ban.
He also highlighted the ongoing rebate scheme aimed at flushing out the energy inefficient refrigeration units in the system, he says, has been quite successful.
The success story of the rebate scheme is that 4,000 people have exchanged their old fridges for new fridges. You've been able to retrieve 4,000 inefficient fridges from the system. And if you allow people to bring in the old ones, then what work have you done?
The Commission began rolling out the service across the nation with a target of 50,000 refrigeration units, which could save an estimated 35 million units of electricity.
Well, reports reaching Joy News say that there's actually been a rock slide on the Ebri Mountains, on the road leading up to the Ebri Mountains. We have a reporter on standby, actually, Matilda Wemega. She's at Peduase Lodge, or Peduase, right now, and she's going to bring us an update on as to what exactly is happening. Good evening to you, Matilda. What can you tell us about this rock slide on the Ebri Mountains?
Well, Israel, when we got to the camp is close to Peduase, what we have seen so far is that the rock is not yet on the road, but it's just hanging somewhere close to the roadside. And then we have been able to get closer and we are taking our shots from there. But it's just hanging somewhere close to the roadside. And what we gathered from a driver who just passed by is that it happened, a similar thing happened just last month where the rock fell off onto the road, and then they had to just maneuver their way through and then move it to the other side of the road. But as we got here, there is no official here from the road safety department to see to the situation. But what we saw so far is the yellow marking with the danger card on it, meaning officials have taken notice of what is actually taking place at the scene so far. So this is what we have been able to so far.
All right. Are you able to say whether any rocks are falling on any vehicles at all since this started last month?
Well, what we gathered from the driver is that it fell off and it blocked the highway, so they had to just move it to the other side of the road to be able to make way for traffic.
Okay, but you're saying that there's this other piece of rock that's hanging that looks like it's going to drop?
Exactly. It's just hanging so close to the road.
All right, thank you very much. You heard Matilda Wemega, and we're trying to bring you some live footage. Hopefully, somewhere along the bulletin, we're able to do that. But what we're hearing, or what we're told, or as you heard from Matilda, apparently some rock slide on the Aburi Mountains. It looks quite dangerous, and so motorists who are approaching that area are advised to be cautious or drive cautiously. Next up, we bring you business with Abigail Adumaku Entry Station.
Time now to bring you up to speed with what's happening in the business community. I'm Abigail Adumaku. Now, the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Trade Fair Center, Nana Kwame Ofori-Amanfo, says they would need over $400 million to do a total facelift of the center, which is fast deteriorating. He says a massive injection of private capital will aid the center in attaining the amount for the rehabilitation works. Nana Kwame Ofori-Amanfo is therefore asking the board of the center to quickly decide on the public-private partnership to avert a complete collapse.
The National Trade Fair Center, set up in 1960 to be used as a promotional tool to gain access into the international market, has not seen any major rehabilitation work since it was built. The current structures on the 120-acre land were only put up temporarily to make way for the first National Trade Fair in 1967 and were to be pulled down afterwards to fulfill the initial plan of building the center into a complex to include amusement centers, hotels and conference venues. The plan, however, seems to have been abandoned, although the center recently received 5 million Ghana cedis from EDF for some rehabilitation works. Its deputy CEO says that was not enough, as it was only for the 7th ECOWAS Trade Fair.
We were very fortunate for the Export Development and Agriculture Investment Fund to come in to give her that financial support, so that in the meantime, until we'll tackle the long-term redevelopment of the center, the company can still be, in existence to continue to be in business. The capital outlay is very, very huge. So huge that you cannot, through your organization of fairs and exhibitions alone, to sustain and then raise capital to do such. You need a massive injection of private capital to be able to retool, to change, to demolish all the old and temporary structures. Then we are talking somewhere in the region of over $400 million.
He adds that the center has contributed immensely to economic growth, particularly in their support for SMEs, and hence needs attention.
Most of our trading economic operators operate in the informal sector. So there's the need for us to continue to groom all this informal sector to enable them to grow into the formal sector, so that they can now operate as reputable companies and then be in a position to leverage their counterparts and then gain access to the market, and then even through that they can also get capital did have dealings with the financial institutions, and so that the business will grow, and that will lead to the growth of the private sector in general.
Nana Kwame Ofori-Amanfo says the Ghana Trade Fair Center, after achieving the dream of becoming a complex, subsequently will have to be established in all districts and regions to deepen its enormous benefits to the economy. Abigail Adumakunchi for Joy News.
Now still on trade, Benin has announced that it has cleared all administrative bottlenecks at the various entry points for ECOWAS member states. The country's Minister for Trade and Industry, Naomi Azaria, who announced this at the 7th ECOWAS Trade Fair, says it is part of her country's efforts to promote trade between West African states. Information centers, she says, have also been established at the borders to assist traders from member states entering Benin with any information they need for their business.
Bustling trading activities characterized the second day of the 7th ECOWAS Trade Fair. The fair, aimed at promoting regional integration through trade, coincided with the Benin National Day, and for them, it was an opportunity to showcase their economic potentials and highlight some of their achievements.
Donc, au niveau de craquer également, what Benin is doing now actually is that to do two major things. First, at Ilakoji border, Benin has set up a unique guichet. Unique cashier means that when you have anything to do at the border, all your formalities, you do it in one place. You don't have to go to taxes office, up and down. You just go for one place and you do all the operations. At the other border for between Benin and Nigeria, at Kraki, there we set up an information center, because when you get information, everything is easy for you. There you can have all the information you need for your transaction. So those are few of many things Benin is doing to make sure that integration is a real thing.
Meanwhile, participants of the 12-day fair are already anticipating enormous benefits.
It's going to be beneficial. We are looking at people coming from various African countries, West Africa to be precise. We've had a few people come in saying, well, we like your products, we want to sell them in our country, how do we do business? So we have those few contacts available. So mainly it's just to be able to, get our products across the few countries surrounding Ghana.
For them, it is the best platform to network and promote West African products.
We believe that by promoting our products in Ghana, and it will lead to economic integration of the West African coast. That is why we are here. We want to establish distributors. We want to conquer the West African coast for economic sub-integration.
I personally, I find it difficult traveling within the ECOWAS states than traveling to Europe or America, because when you come to the border, most of the time you encounter so many unnecessary problems. And there are so many things we can source from each other rather than going outside ECOWAS state. But because of the lack of transportation and so on, that is what is making it difficult. And we think coming here, we would be able to network with others to ease all these problems.
Now on to some international business. China's manufacturing activity grew at its fastest pace in 18 months in October, adding to signs of a recovery in the world's second largest economy. The official Purchasing Managers Index PMI, a gauge of the sector's health, rose to 51.4 from 51.1 in September. Manufacturing is a key driver of China's growth, and the PMI, reading above 50, indicates expansion in the sector. The data comes just weeks after China reported its economic growth picked up speed in the July to September period. Its economy grew 7.8% in the quarter from a year earlier, up from the 7.5% expansion recorded in the previous 3 months. The pickup in the pace of growth was the first in 3 quarters. Official figures released last month also showed growth in industrial output, retail sales, and fixed asset investment. Now, the Obama administration has again criticized China for significantly undervaluing its currency, but stopped short of labeling Beijing a currency manipulator. In its twice-yearly report to Congress on Wednesday, the United States Treasury acknowledged the value of China's currency. the renminbi is rising, but not as fast or by as much as is needed. Responding to the report, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying on Thursday said Beijing had made progress on currency issues and called for the U.S. not to disrupt trade relations between the world's two largest economies. And that'll be all for business. I'm Abigail Adomakwenchi. Do have a splendid weekend.
Joy News Business.
Time to check out news, topping the agenda in sports. And Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah says his players are ready to play the Pharaohs in Cairo in the return leg of their Brazil World Cup playoff, despite doubts about their safety in the Egyptian capital. Some players had reservations about the venue of the November 19 game due to the volatile situation in the North African country and would have wished FIFA moved it to a neutral venue. But Kwesi Appiah has told Joy Sports FIFA's confirmation of the match venue has not affected their plans.
No, I mean, even before FIFA came out with the statement, we had made plans as to where, we start our campaign. Just that we were waiting for them to confirm that it's truly Egypt that we're going. For me, whether Egypt or wherever FIFA, if they have taken it to any other place, we were prepared for it. The most important thing is, our players are professionals and wherever we're playing, the most important, letting them know early so that they prepare themselves psychologically and then we get into the game. Yeah, yesterday when I heard it, I called almost all of them. This morning I was speaking to some of them and they were prepared for it. Initially, they thought that, there might be security, challenges, but they said once FIFA has approved, that means FIFA is guaranteeing that there won't be any problems, and for that reason, the most important thing is their ambition is to make sure that they go to the World Cup and nothing will come their way.
The Black Stars are seeking a World Cup best. Same could be said about the Black Maidens. They are looking for their fourth appearance in the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. And chairman of the National Women's League Board, Linia Adi, is rallying support for the Black Maidens ahead of this weekend's World Cup qualifier against Equatorial Guinea at the Cross Sports Stadium. The Maidens are fighting for one of three available slots for Africa, alongside Equatorial Guinea, South Africa, Zambia, Morocco and Nigeria. Linia Adi is calling on soccer fans to come in the numbers and support the Maidens tomorrow at the Cross Sports Stadium.
Maidens are well prepared because we know it is not an easy task facing especially a team from Equatorial Guinea. We know their worth and we are also preparing very well to meet them, and I believe that something good is going to come out of this match. We know Equatorial Guinea, especially with their senior side, not with their youth side, but we know their youth team, their under-20 team just went out to beat a team 5-0. And we know that they also have players. We always call the Equatorial Guinea team the UN team. You understand me? But we are not scared of that. We are well prepared. And I have hope in the girls that they are going to deliver come Saturday. All I'm asking is that we all go to the Accra Sports Stadium to support these girls, because it's the same team that went to Azerbaijan to make us proud. Won bronze, and it was the first team in Africa at that level to have won a bronze at the World Cup level.
Meanwhile, the Equatorial Guinea team rounded up with the preparations at the Presbyterian Boys Secondary School in Legon, and the media liaison officer, Pedro Ondo, tells Joy Sports they are poised for action tomorrow.
Well, this is the first day we came here, so the pitch is not, that you haven't seen it, it's not okay, but anyway, we know that I am in Africa, so there's no problem. We are going to continue in training. I hope my team was training so hard for this match. And, since it's a match, let's see on Saturday what is going to happen in the pitch. But my team is here to achieve the victory. Well, it's a match. It's 19 minutes. So let's see tomorrow in the match. But I came here to take the victory. Yeah, we know Ghana is a respectable team, even for the men and the women, but anyway, so at our adversary we respect them, but I'm saying first I think we are going to see in the match on Saturday.
Well, that'll be over sports tonight. My name is George Adijun. It's been a wonderful week. A greater weekend is definitely in prospect. Israel, join us with international news.
Sports was brought to you in association.
Minister Bazoum Mohamed says women and children may be banned from traveling north of the country. Bazoum Mohamed was speaking after the bodies of 92 migrants who had died of thirst were found in the Sahara. Niger lies on a major migrant route between sub-Saharan Africa and Europe. Among those who make it across the desert, many end up working in North African countries. The African Union is pushing ahead with its bid for a one-year deferral of International Criminal Court charges against Kenya's president and deputy president, saying it will move for a resolution at the UN Security Council. The two men are charged with instigating post-election violence in 2007 and 2008 that killed more than 1,100 people and displaced more than 500,000 others. The Hague-based ICC announced Thursday it has agreed to a 3-month postponement to the start of President Kenyatta's trial, which had been due to begin November 12. It will now start on February 5. The UN Security Council has the power to issue what is known as an Article 16 deferral for ICC cases, but such a decision would require the agreement of all 15 Council members.
On November,
Taliban Hakimullah Masood has been killed in a drone strike. The strike targeted a vehicle used by Masood with 4 missiles in the northwestern region of North Waziristan. 4 other people were killed in the strike, including 2 of Masood's bodyguards, intelligence sources say. Several previous claims of his death made by US and Pakistani intelligence sources have proven untrue. China's top security officials says a deadly crash in Beijing's Tiananmen Square was incited by East Turkestan Islamic movement. The crash occurred on Monday when a car plowed into a crowd, then burst into flames, killing 3 people inside the vehicle and 2 tourists. Police have arrested 5 suspects, all from the western region of Xinjiang, home to minority Uyghur Muslims. Security has also been tightened in Xinjiang, which borders Central Asia. China often blames the Etim group for incidents in Xinjiang, but the BBC correspondent in Beijing says few believe that the group has any capacity to carry out any serious act of terror in China. Uyghur groups claim China uses Etim as an excuse to justify repressive security in Xinjiang. And that's it for international news. American R&B singer Beyoncé Knowles, or Mrs. Carter, has joined the list of celebrities producing their own calendars. The calendar, the first ever being made by the singer, is expected to cost $15 a piece. But even before the calendars go on sale, the social media savvy singer has released a video footage showing the making of the calendar. It has so far received over 1.3 million views and counting. Now here's a sneak peek at the shoot. Just have to look out for my own calendar. I'm coming out with one too. And did you know that British supermodel Naomi Campbell was in Ghana recently? Well, she was in town to shoot a fashion editorial for W Magazine's Global Style November issue. Although news trickled in about her visit, they were treated as rumors until pictures of her shoot finally hit the internet. The photos were taken at some picturesque locations in Accra, including the University of Ghana, National Theatre, and a Mövenpick ambassador. Hotel. According to the style editor for W Magazine, Edward Anningful, the shoot is a tribute to a modern-day First Lady on a state trip, evoking the kind of timeless style that could have existed in the 1940s, 1960s, or even today. And that'll be all for Showbiz. All right, before we wrap up the bulletin, we're going back to our story on the rock slide on the Ebri Mountains. We're getting some footage that we're going to be showing you right now. The story is that there's some rock slide there. The rocks are falling onto the road. But that's what you see now is a vehicle, we're told, was apparently tumbled off the road as a result of the rock slide. We'll get some confirmation and bring that to you subsequently. But this is somewhere on the Peduase, around the Peduase Lodge, on the road that leads up, that winds up through the mountain towards Ebri. So that's a vehicle that we're told that tumbled off or was taking off the road as a result of the rock slide. But there you see the road itself, and some water flowing. But you can see the danger sign that was put up earlier or has been put up to warn motorists. So motorists are just advised to be cautious as they approach the area because of this rock slide that we're told is there on the Ebri Mountains. Okay, now a quick run through our top stories. Information and Media Relations Minister defends government's record in fighting corruption, insisting that due process must be followed. But former majority leader and one of President Mahama's 3 wise men does not quite agree government is that committed. Meanwhile, Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee says it will invite persons named in recent bonded warehouse scandal to further interrogate the matter involving tax evasion of hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis. Cocoa haulers agitate over undue delay by the produce buying company in receiving their beans meant for export. In business, Ghana Trade Fair Company says more than $400 million will be required to give the fairgrounds a total facelift. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Ezra Olai.